Hello. How are you doing? Thank you for coming out once again, especially on a night that we had to reschedule the event. It's been an interesting month to 2 months. I am Steve Potasic, superintendent for the district. If I've not got to meet you, then if you're involved with the district, we might have had somewhat of an intimate relationship over the last couple weeks with all the calls and communications I've been having. I'm hoping that's done here shortly, and I'm hoping that we're not involved with the weather anymore throughout the year. I think you're going to have a hard time keeping up with me. I'm going to be all over the place back and forth. But, okay. How many people, this is their first time? Quite a bit. I have to stress, please go to the website and to the YouTube and watch that video. The one overwhelming point that you have to understand is that doing nothing at this point in time is not an option. Doing nothing is not an option. All right, tonight, our meeting goals for tonight are going to be, 1, we need everyone here to understand how important it is that we develop a vision for how we are going to sell this community to people as we go into the future, especially in a mobile world. We need to understand how we are going to sell this community as we go into the future, especially in a mobile world. Our second thing that I need you to know is that I want you to get a taste of my vision of which direction I see taking the community. I want you to have that by the end of the night. It's very important that you have a superintendent, that the vision from the superintendent, you understand and you know, and I'm going to be completely honest about it. It might upset some people by the end of the night, but that's what you deserve from your superintendent. Now, what is selling the community in a mobile environment mean? What does that mean? Well, I can explain it best this way. The old model for community development, for communities that were creating an economic base from which they were sustaining their growth, from which they were increasing their property values for their buildings, in which they were increasing the quality of their life. The old model was that you had a manufacturing plant that came into your community, you had industry that came into your community, and you had a lot of people with jobs, and people got a job in your community, and they worked in your community. That's how it used to be. They spent money in your community. They bought your homes. They bought groceries. They purchased your cars. They went to your churches. And the model was, if you continue to have industry and manufacturing jobs in your community, you're going to continue to see growth. That's not how it is nowadays. That model is gone. That was the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and then it started to change. Yes, we want jobs in the community, but this is how it goes nowadays. People get a job. Then they mentally, or even on a map, look at a geographical area that is within a certain driving range of how far they're willing to drive every morning. And it might be with the interstate system with the highways, 45 miles away. They make their own independent decision on how far they are willing to drive to go to work, and then they look at all the communities within that geographical map, and they say, which one do I want to live in? And that happens. Let's look around the state. Peoria. Dunlap and Morton. Now, Morton has a lot of industry. Dunlap doesn't. Dunlap's growing and exploding. Peoria, economically, is in some turmoil. Kankakee, Bradley Bourbonnais. Decatur, Warrensburg, Latham, and Mount Zion. The Metro East. You ever heard of Sauget, Illinois? Sauget's right between... Oh, there's too much laughing and giggling about Sauget, Illinois. Some people just busted themselves out. Other people going, what is he talking about? I have no idea. Cahokia and East St. Louis, and you got Sauget, Illinois right between them. Other than, I was at Cahokia for 6 years right next to Sauget. That's what I know about everything in Sauget. There's a lot of manufacturing plants. Monsanto, Dow, right there in Sauget. Are the people investing in that community and living in that area? No. They're going out to O'Fallon, maybe down south to Waterloo. Joliet. What's the up-and-coming booming community around Joliet? Plainfield, Illinois. My wife, Tracy, she's in the back tonight. Hi, Tracy. How you doing? She's a graduate of Plainfield High School. Her school's been annihilated by a tornado, but since then, they had one high school. Now there's, I don't know for sure, but multiple, and they're having to plan for even further growth. It's one of the most exploding communities of growth in the state. Is it because of industry? No. Outside of Champaign, Mahomet Seymour. They have the schools around Rockford. No matter where you go around the state, you're going to find communities that have industry, have jobs, and it's not meaning that they are having economic performance. You know, Decatur was just listed as one of the two most declining economies in the nation. What is the difference? Why do people move to Plainfield? There's one answer. Plainfield schools. We have a mobile world where people travel to go to work. And let me say, people invest in the community they live in much more than they invest in the community they work in. And I've heard it already. I heard it a couple weeks ago when I was at the Kiwanis luncheon and the announcement came out about FutureGen. Fantastic. But I heard someone say, it's coming. The Savior's coming. 400 jobs to the area. What good is it going to be if we get 400 jobs to the area and 300 of those people decide to live elsewhere? And a good share of those jobs are not going to even be in Jacksonville. They're going to be out in Meridosha, correct? Is there even going to be a plant in the Ashland area somewhere out there where they're putting it into the ground? Or okay, maybe 5 jobs, but Dosha's going to see a good share of them, correct? Quite a few. I'll tell you what I don't want. I don't want us to get a new company in here with 400 jobs and having people drive all the way from Chatham to Meridosha and past Jacksonville every morning and drive back every evening. The gas station in South Jacksonville will get some business. That's about it. This is the reality of the world we live in. People choose where they live based around the schools. So what's the end result from this? Okay, here it goes. Not my vision yet, but I don't see any way out of this situation without us asking the taxpayers to substantially invest in their community. And let me talk about what schools are. They are an investment in your community. I have had a lot of discussion with people recently, and they keep saying things along the line of, well, if you guys have a roof collapse, why should the bill have to come back on us? It's your roof. It's your school. I don't see how we're going to get out of this without asking for an investment from the taxpayers into their community, which are the schools. And then I hear it, the 2 A words. Sometimes I hear a third, but I ignore that. Anybody have an idea what the 2 A words are? Are we talking about another referendum? Are we going to go through this again? I've heard another and again. So many times I said to myself, have we out-referendumed? I don't even know if that's a word, English teachers, but I'm making it up. Have we outburdened our community? If you weren't at the last session, one of the things that you need to watch the video about is how the new guy to the community gave the people in Jacksonville a history lesson about Jacksonville. And about how we were the Athens of the West because we were one of the most advanced educational progressive communities in the Midwest, if not the nation. Well, I went back and read some more history. And now's part 2. This is on your table, not this. But this sheet right here, there's 2 on your table. You can keep them. We will have it on the district's webpage. I got to put my glasses on. Okay. I'm going to go through some highlights in Jacksonville, Illinois. 1826, first schoolhouse. Written in a history book I read was that 1825 to 1855, Jacksonville was regarded as the best school system in Illinois. 1840, the formal establishment of the city school system, the 3rd city in the state of Illinois to actually establish a city school system. For the most part, the rest of it, I'm just going to talk about facilities. 1850, 2 schools were built. 1851, first, that's when I spoke about last time, 1851, first 9 through 12th graded high school in the state of Illinois, maybe in the Midwest. 1859 to 1875, the explosion of multiple schools. The 4 wards, Lafayette, Franklin, Washington, Jefferson, built their schools, all new. Go look at our old homes in this community. When was Jacksonville truly great? When do we talk about the history of Jacksonville? 1850s, 1860s, 1870s, 80s? Anthony, I know you're on that, am I right? That's the great era of Jacksonville. Hey, all brand new progressive schools. I love this one. 1864, the Washington School in the 4th Ward was built. 1864, the date's different on that, so I could be wrong. $50,000. $50,000 in 1864? Whew. A magnificent building, one of the best schools in the state, revolutionized education with an indoor gymnasium. There was a gap from 1875 to 1901. And that was the largest gap, 26 years right there, but you had a lot of new buildings. And in 1901, the first Jacksonville High School was built. In 1903, University of Illinois came by to do an accreditation of the community, of the school district, and it is written in their accreditation, one of the strongest high schools in the state. 1915, David Prince 7th and 8th grade center, right next to the high school. Early 7th and 8th grade center, progressive. 1920, we had to build the new high school, which is now the school apartments, because the 1901 high school burnt in the 1918 fire. 1927 to 1938, the 4 new ward schools. Lafayette, Jefferson, Franklin, Washington. 1950, major remodeling at Jefferson and Franklin, funding for Lincoln. Outside of the district, 1949 North, 1949 South, 1950 North. 1957 Turner. 1965, the vocational building, cutting-edge vocational building, which is now the administrative offices. 1971-72, I've gotten some different years, Eisenhower. 1982, Armstrong was expanded to be the high school. It's been 32 years. At a time when Jacksonville is questionably, and I'm new here, so I've asked a lot of people who are veterans of this community, when Jacksonville is questionably in its most lack of confidence time in its history about its future. Is that fair? More concern about its future than maybe has been at times. Maybe there's moments in the past. Comes at the exact same time where we have had the largest drought of the community investing in its schools. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that's directly related. I had a discussion with somebody the other day, and they set my brain on fire thinking, because what they brought up was, this is at the exact same time when the world around us has changed more than any other time in the history of mankind. The vast majority of our schools were built closer to when Orville and the Wright brothers tried to fly their plane than to nowadays. Look at the communities that are thriving. They are making an investment in their schools. I'm not necessarily defaulting right now, I might later, for a reason, to talking about new. There are a lot of communities that are thriving by making an investment in their schools currently to bring them up to date and modernized. That has happened. So I have analyzed that, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. It has been 35 years since we passed a referendum. We are trying to sell our community to other individuals to move here, to bring your money, buy a home, buy your groceries, buy your cars, go to your movies, go to all the businesses, buy your insurance, do everything here. That's how you win in the market versus other communities nowadays. And we haven't done anything in 35 years. I said this at the Kiwanis, and this might be a little blunt, and I'm sorry. But do we want to make bumper stickers, T-shirts, bragging rights, Jacksonville, Illinois, successfully fighting education for over 3 decades? That's not who we are. And for people who weren't here at the last one, I went in detail about how much my wife and I have fallen in love with this community. I want this community to be as the best it can be. That's how we're going to win. So my vision, it starts with, I see beautiful facilities that are bragging rights for this community. I see people on those 3 words saying, what do you say about our schools? They look fantastic. They're wonderful. I'm going to give more than 3 words. When I walk in, it's open light. It's inviting. It's a warm environment. My kid's going to feel a value while they're going to the school. The teachers are talking about how there are intervention rooms. There are talented and gifted opportunities. We're talking about flexible spaces that allow us to adapt to whatever curriculum changes we might face in the future. Being progressive at the cutting edge. That's the vision. We got a big problem. Last time we went, we talked about this term, maximizing student services. And I had 2 tables stop me and say, what does maximizing student services mean? And when I told them it means that we want to be able to use our staff and our programming to offer music in the elementary school, foreign language in the elementary school, enrichment programs. The list goes on, a media center, libraries in every elementary school. We're not offering all those things, and we're competing against communities that have those things. And when I told them, they went, oh, that's top priority. After the meeting, a couple people came up to me and said, what does maximizing student services mean? And I told them, and they went, oh, we didn't put that down, we wish we would have. I'm saying it's the most important thing because that's the educational component that we're providing to our kids. We want beautiful top-edge facilities that also are maximizing student services. Here's where I come to where I have to make a decision about going the direction of new. I've heard the argument of attendance centers versus neighborhood schools. Attendance centers will help us maximize our student services. They will put all 4th graders together, allowing us to do enrichment programs and opportunities. Neighborhood schools, we don't have 6 teachers to go through and do all those programs at all the different buildings. If I have all my 4th grades, 12 4th grade classes, and 2 kids in every 4th grade class who are gifted, right now I've got, that means average of 2 to 4 kids a building. I can't provide the gifted and enriched opportunities for them, but I put them all in one building. I've got 24 kids. I can provide them the enrichment opportunities they need, the things that those top-end parents who make great money, who are going to invest in our community, want for their kids. Here's a problem. Our current arrangement, we do not have one elementary school that is big enough to take 2 grade levels in one building. Think about that. Let that hit you. So if we were to go to the attendance center model and maximize what we could do for our kids would be going to different buildings every year. That's not good. That's not in their best interest. So I have not determined exactly in my vision, I'm saying we build this type of building. I'm letting this process come. The data these individuals are going to provide for me is going to tell me what's the best bang for our buck. But I am saying, I'm seeing to put the money where the problem, where the issues are, which I'm looking lower end, and I cannot figure out any way to do it other than talking about new. Maybe somebody in the room can solve it for me. And if you can, thank you. Last point. Took a little too long tonight. One feedback I keep getting is this. How did it get this bad? Fair? Next time I'm going to talk a little bit about the financial angle and how there's some things with how the tax caps were put in place that they did not allow us to establish a debt service extension base, so we cannot get loans for emergency health, life, safety issues. It's a major problem. I will explain it next time. But I'm going to twist it on everybody. 20 years from now, I'm wondering, what are they going to say about you? 20 years from now, what are they going to say about us? Think about that. If we don't do something, it's not going to be good here in Jacksonville. And this place is great. Thank you very much.